Well, what I know about trust for darn sure is whether we're a lion or a human being, we've got to be courageous. Isn't that the truth? We've got to really step into that place of daring, that place of uncertainty, that place that calls us to go to the edge of our comfort zone so that we can actually embrace whatever's going on. Because I know for myself, the times when I've been called to trust the most have been some of the most frightening, scary, uncertain times in my life. And what I know also is that when you can call forth this kind of trust in the process, we get through it. We get through it. So this idea that we have to be able to trust ourselves within our experience first. I love what the Buddha says. He says the beginning of all good things, no matter what, is trust. Trust in the possibilities, no matter how it's showing up. And so I picked this image today of acrobats, and I love the story, a father teaching a young daughter how to do this work in the Chinese circus, the acrobat process. And what he taught her was the most important thing was not to trust him, not to drop her, but to trust herself to do her part so that she had this strength, this inner strength, so that when they came together in the we experience, they both were trusting their own capacity to do the job well or to get through this process. And in trusting themselves together, they brought a bigger sense of trust in the process, and they didn't have to worry about what the other guy was doing. Does that make sense to you? If we trust ourselves first and know with certainty that whatever life shows us or throws us sometimes, that's been my experience, whatever life gives us in the moment, if we trust ourselves to be able to move through and with that experience, we don't have to worry about anything else. I was thinking about this whole idea of trust and thinking how often in my own life experience, at the end of meditations, when I do meditations on Sundays, I always say, God is in this place, wherever we are, God is. And this is a truth that you can trust. And I thought about that. If we know that, if we trust the truth that our big self, don't we say that there's this divine spark within each and every one of us? If we trust the idea that wherever we are, the activity of God is expressing, and I am that, we don't have anything to worry about. That's a truth that we can trust. That's a truth that we can trust. And so this idea of coming together and, like Linda mentioned, cultivating an environment where we uphold the excellence of one another like these acrobats, where we uphold the capacity for each and every one of us to express our essence, to be in our radiance, not encouraging each other's weaknesses, not giving any attention to, the times when we fall down while we're practicing, not giving attention to our tendencies to be afraid or our tendencies to hide behind, the armor of our experiences. If we give ourselves permission to come together in a trusting environment and cultivate that and see the excellence in ourselves and see the excellence in each other and see the beauty and the excellence of the universe that provides for us this great mystery, whether it meets our plans or not. We got to be okay with however it shows up. And boy, I'll tell you what, well, using this example of our move to this beautiful location, we really had to step into a very trusting place a few months ago when that whole 8-month deal fell apart. That was a big trust, let me tell you. And it didn't take long for the universe to show us the possibilities within that mystery of failure, so to speak, that then is the outpicturing of what we're seeing today. But had we pulled in, gotten afraid, cultivated our weakness instead of our strength, you see, we've got to know who we are within these experiences, that we not only can trust our experiences, we trust each other in the process, and trust the energy of God moving through stuff, then marvelous things happen. You know, I love this idea. Where's James? There's James. I've got to find you, James. James is a incredible academician and knows things, and I'm sure you know this, James. No news to you, but you know what the test for trustworthiness is? The idea of trusting and being trustworthy. You know, I like to be trustworthy. I like to know that when I give my word, it's done. I like to know that when you put your trust in me, no worries. It's going to happen. And if it doesn't happen the way we all think it's going to happen, it'll happen somehow. That's, you know, this idea of trustworthiness, that's part of this idea of being willing to trust our experience, and then also being willing to be trusted. And you know what it takes for us to be willing to be trusted? It takes this incredible sincerity. You know what sincerity means in Latin? Without wax. We're authentic. We don't cover up our cracks and our holes and gloss over our, you know, smooth over those rough places with wax. That was an idea in those ancient days when the sculptors were making these fabulous marble things. The sculptor you could trust is the guy that didn't fill the cracks with wax. That's what I'm talking about. We've got to be able to show up being trustworthy so that we are flawless in the way we approach our life experience. And the only way we can do that is to know who we are. To trust who we are. To know the truth of our being. And I know the truth of my being, and I know the truth of your being. And the truth of all of our beings is this: we are an original blessing. We are an expression of the divine energy that God is. We are all beautiful, radiant essences. And sometimes we make mistakes. And sometimes we're unskillful. And sometimes we just pick ourselves up by the bootstraps and go for it anyway. And we trust that within whatever goes on in our life experience, that we are going to meet the possibilities that that experience shows us, so that we don't collapse into it. We go to the edge of it and expand beyond it. I love what Pema Chodron says. She says, when we're in a trusting environment, when we're trying to embrace our experiences as they show up, we have to be willing to dive into non-cozy waters and swim out beyond our comfort zone. Dive into let me tell you, we've been in some non-cozy waters lately. How about you? Anybody been in non-cozy waters? Anybody got some legal stuff going on that's troubling you? Anybody got relationship problems going on? Anybody got a financial situation that's not working out real well? Anybody got a project that's not coming out quite like you planned? Anybody have health issues? Yes. It pushes us to swim beyond our comfort zone and actually trust that whatever is going on has a possibility within it. Somewhere, somehow. Now, it might not be according to our plan. Matter of fact, it probably isn't. It's been my experience. Boy, you know that old thing, best laid plans? We can have all the plans and ideas that we want. And if we stick to my version, it's got to look like this, and not trust that however it turns out is going to be okay, we're going to be in trouble. We don't have to know how it's going to turn out. We just have to claim the possibility within whatever shows up. This is what basic trust is all about. This is what basic trust is all about. That leap of faith that allows us to meet the moment as it is and capture from within that the goodness, the possibility, the beauty, whatever, the opportunity, the lesson, the relationship, the love, the energy of the divine. To go to the outer edge of our comfort zone and let that mystery that God is be okay. And boy, that's hard. Because I know in my life I want things to be my way or the highway. I like it to be controlled. Anybody else a control freak? Let me tell you this. The degree of openness that we experience in our life, you know, as we show up, the sincerity that we show up with in life, that demonstrates our degree of trust. So let me ask you this. If you're very trusting, you're probably not guarded. You're probably not closed off to the world. You're probably not hardened to life. you're probably not negative. You're probably not cynical and looking for everything to go wrong, because you're looking for the possibilities within whatever is going on rather than all the negative aspects that are getting your attention. So if you identify with any of those traits and they're not qualities that you're living right now, if you're, great, you probably are living a great deal of trust. But if you find yourself being hardened to life, guarded, armored, I always say when I do meditations, I always talk about dropping that hardness around the heart. So often we're just tight, we're constricted because we're not trusting life to support our journey. So if you're feeling any of that, take a look at how trusting you are of the experiences of your life. Because if you can't trust, first of all, yourself, it's very hard to trust anyone else or the universe to support your journey. Tell you what, trust is the thing that gets us out of bed in the morning. If we didn't trust, have essential trust, we'd be afraid to put our feet on the floor in the morning and get up. If we didn't have essential trust in the universe, think about it. We would never get on an airplane. Some of us are afraid to get on an airplane even though, right? If we didn't have basic trust, we would never get behind the wheel of a car or cross the street. That daring courage to trust whatever that process is and go with it anyway. For some of us, these things are a challenge. Because as long as we're alive, we're going to be experiencing some version of fear. It's the way of it. It's the way of life. But as we move into greater and deeper trust in our life experience, we can make the container that holds that fear bigger so that it doesn't collapse us. So that we're living our excellence, we're living our radiance, and we're not always worried about falling off the top of the pyramid with our, in our acrobat experience of life. When we see that whatever's going on for us, whatever it is, even if it comes as a great surprise, oh my God, not that. Are you kidding me? Where did that come from? Have you been blindsided lately by something that you never thought you'd have to deal with? Yeah, where'd that come from? When that kind of thing shows up and we can see it as an embodiment of the activity of God, the activity of whatever you call that power and presence, love, my son David called that power and presence Elvis in his early days of recovery. Whatever you choose to call that power and presence, and know that whatever that stuff is that's showing up, it's filled with that energy of the divine, and it's there for you as an opportunity to claim the possibility within that, so that you can gain the capacity to try again, to love again, to move forward, to go on, not to collapse into whatever's going on, to trust your own deepest experiences, and remember the truth. Wherever we are, God is. It's all God. And that's a tough one, because when things look icky, we don't want to claim that. Isn't that the truth? That can't be God. How could that be God? How could this be the power and presence of that incredible source of energy? Because it looks icky, and I don't like it, and it's not okay with me. But the truth is, guess what, folks? It's all God. It's all God. So we've got to be willing to place our heart on whatever is going on and open to that. To be able to say, within this experience, I choose to move through it. I choose life. I choose to align with the potential that is within this experience, no matter how it's showing up. I choose to invest myself in this experience, whatever it is. Jan Bihar is a huge example of that, having just recovered from a brain tumor and surgery, and she's here as a living example of a miracle. But let me tell you, a couple of weeks ago, didn't look so good. Didn't look so positive. She's had a healing in her relationship with her daughter. She's had an incredible outpouring of love from this community. It looked pretty grim a couple of months ago. Today, she claimed the possibility within that, and her whole life has changed. Basic trust in the process. Basic trust in the process. And what I know for sure is the minute we can tap into that little tiny spark that lets us trust the experience and say, you know what, I'm going for it. I'm going for it. I don't care. I'm going for it. I'm going to find a possibility within this. Go for it. The minute we ignite that spark and choose to trust the universe, choose to trust ourselves, choose to be trustworthy so that other people can look at us as an example of that which knows how to trust the universe. Once we have that foundation laid for ourselves, we can let go of the demand of the moment and just be present, like Glenda's little dog there that was laying all kicked back under that blanket. We could just relax and find the peace of the moment and be okay with my life's not showing up on my terms. My life's showing up on life's terms, and I'm going to trust that within that there's something for me and my soul's journey. I'm willing to go to the edge. I'm willing to go for it. I'm willing to embody the energy of trust that knows all of it is part of the great mystery of life, this mystery that God is. To align with that potential within all this stuff, it's a biggie. And the capacity to say, I'm going for it, when it doesn't look all that great, that's basic trust. Thank you for listening.